Now if you come on down to Highbury, you can see Thierry Henry. He is the best player you will ever see. Thierry Henry. Now if you come on down to Highbury.
Hello and welcome back to From Dial Square to Where on a joyous occasion where we are still top of the league. We've got Ryan to come, but at the moment we've got the wonderful Kunjan and Ray. I'll go to you first, Kunjan. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I've had a very eventful week, and for no other reason, I'm not going to even sound incestual with this joke, but you must have heard about Aubamayang's thing, where he wanted to celebrate with a Spider-Man mask.
Spider-Man mask.
Yeah, and earlier on, I had some Arsenal fans from England call me something, which I can't remember. So I'm just trying to be very casual about it, like I don't want to get too I don't want to get too bitter about what they may have said, but it's fitting what Aubamayang did and what they called me. So cheers to that.
Yeah, for those that are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else, Kunjan is drinking out of a Spider-Man mug. Which is fantastic.
A Spider-Man mug.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's brilliant, mate. And Ray, great to see you again, pal.
Yeah, thank you again for having me, mate. It's been a little while, innit? So I'm buzzing to come back on.
Yeah,
and
a lot of good things to talk about, isn't there, at the moment?
Fantastic weekends, all things Arsenal related, wasn't it? So
it was. Yeah. It couldn't have gone much better, really, apart from a 93rd or 94th minute penalty, whatever it was, somewhere up.
True that.
Up north. But we can't complain too much. It was everywhere else. It was fantastic. But I mean, obviously, there's only one place to start, really, and that is the Stamford Bridge, where I have to say, it was probably the absolute perfect away performance, to be honest with you. Just lacking maybe the 2-3 goals extra on top of what we got, just to properly show everyone who didn't see the game exactly how dominant we were, because we dominated their asses from start to finish on their own home soil, and it was a wonderful, wonderful watch. I mean, everyone played brilliantly, and we played brilliantly as a team. I can't really say much more about it right this second, but Kunjan, do you agree with what I said? I mean, it's amazing, really, wasn't it? It was just great football from start to finish.
A year back, if we played the way we did, we would be like jubilant. We'd be jumping up and down. How times have changed in a year is now it feels like it's normal. This is a very normal thing for Arsenal to do. We are getting spoiled, for lack of a better choice, better word. It was a phenomenal game. I think you're right. And everyone I've spoken to said the same thing. And this is what I'm getting at. Like, we had a 1-0. We dominated the game. I genuinely think Ramsdale's gloves have gone untouched. The only time maybe he must have had something to do with it is when he rubbed them onto the pitch or something, because there was absolutely nothing that he had to do. And the fact that we've gone away with a 1-0, and that's disappointing. And again, I'm saying that in not in good humor. I'm saying that in a very different retrospect. So please don't come at me by calling me things and abusing me. I just mean this, that I'm happy with the 1-0, but I'm not saying that, it's not a good result. So please don't insult me or my family. Don't come after me. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But no, we should be very proud. Like, the fact is that we've come such a long way in 1 year. That when we had, and here's a funny thing. Like, I think Chelsea have become our bogey team, but the opposite way, because 3 back-to-back trips at Stamford Bridge. If you remember, was it in 2020 when Arteta's job was on the line? We had Chelsea. In 21, when we had that horrific run, where we were not getting any goals, we were not getting any wins, we pulled up at Chelsea. This time, when everyone was like, Arsenal haven't been tested yet, we showed up at Chelsea. So Roman Abramovich, Ted Bowley, Thomas Tuchel, Frank Lampard, or Graham Potter, I think
you guys took one hell of a beating.
There we go. So I think it was a phenomenal result. I think it was a great result. And yes, the disappointing The disappointment in this was there were not many goals. It was just a 1-0. But I'm buzzing. Every Arsenal fan out there is buzzing, and it's a good time to be an Arsenal fan again.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Ray, there's not much else that could have gone better other than like we've just already said. You know, the goals. What was your thoughts really that he parachuted? Straight back in at left back, Zinchenko, and we were a little bit surprised about that because from my memory serves me correct, the same thing happened against when he came back against Tottenham. You know, he'd been out for a little while before then, and we were all wondering, what would be happening. But it just shows you that this is 100% his first 11, doesn't it? Really, with the trading straight away.
Yeah, 100%. After Tierney's performance in the Europa League game, I did think he would possibly start. But it was refreshing to see Zinchenko back because he's been out for a while. And he just has that control, doesn't he, from left back? And I think maybe that's why he's been playing Tomiyasu. I know he done a job defensively against Liverpool, against Mo Salah, but he's been playing in the games since then, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think it's just because of the control that he has in that part of the pitch. It allows the likes of Granit Xhaka and Martinelli to really sort of thrive on that left hand side. So yeah, I was surprised to see Zinchenko come in and start, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was really pleased to see him back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he releases a bit more confidence if he's needed to Thomas Partey as well, having him sort of basically tucking in alongside him. It just gives him that little bit of extra security. I think it just it makes him even better.
Yeah, I just think we have more structure with him in there, Andrew. And it's not that I don't dislike Kieran Tierney because I love him. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah,
but I think Kieran Tierney is a bit more sort of up and down. The pitch. Defensively, he's very good, but I don't think he offers you the same control as a midfield player would do. Playing in that part of the park, and like I say, it unlocks Granit Xhaka, who's been brilliant, as well as Martinelli, and couple that with the brilliance of Thomas Partey and Jesus' work rate, and it's really working well for us at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that chance, the headed chance that was just missed by Gabriel Jesus, honestly, it would have been a goal of the season, or even more. It could have been goal of the last 2 or 3 seasons. To be honest with you, it was fantastic, wasn't it? But I mean, there's been so much talk about Gabriel Jesus. I think it's 8 games now that he hasn't scored. I'm just not worried about it at all at the moment because it's not the same thing as backing Lacazette when he was not scoring, saying, "Oh, he works really hard for the team. The team, much better with him in it," and so on. This is completely different kettle of fish for me. He does so much more stuff than Lacazette ever did for us, and he's having 5, 6, 7, 8 shots a game sometimes. It will come good. I couldn't be more confident that he's going to start scoring a lot of goals. I think as soon as he gets that first one again, the floodgates are going to open for him and he'll start again like he did at the beginning of the season. I mean, Kunjan, do you agree? I cannot see anything in his game that is worrying me at all. He's had so much bad luck in front of goal. He's had a few misses where he should have done better. But let's face it, he has hit every single part of the goalkeeper and it's just nicked wide, or there's been a last-minute unbelievable block or something that's he's come up against. But I'm just not worried at all. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, the same. I think one thing, everyone's criticizing Jesus for not scoring, but nobody's saying he's off form because his form is quite up there. The way he brings the play together, he cuts into the channels. Sometimes even if you notice, like he drifts a little wide to bring in, like for example, Saka in the center. Xhaka takes that slot right onto the box where Jesus can cut it in. I forget the game. I think it was a Europa League game where he set up Fabio Vieira. What a machine, the way he cut through the left side. He cut through the defender and laid it off for Fabio Vieira. And you're just like, he's got so much in his game. And again, excuse me for saying this because again, I don't want someone to come at me by saying I don't know my football, but there was a certain Arsenal player when he signed for the club, given he was not from the Premier League, but he was young, he was from Italy, and he did not have his shooting boots on and did not score a lot of goals. And he did pretty well for himself later on. There's a certain number 14 we signed from Juventus. I forget the name. And it just goes to show that give it time. Like the oldest saying in the book is form is temporary, class is permanent. But in this case, Jesus is not even off form. He's just maybe unlucky, as you mentioned earlier on. Like when you see the header just go wide of the post, when you see, and again, if you watch the Chelsea game, Jesus was right on the box. He had a chance to curl it in. He chose to pass. He did not go for the glory. When you see such moments, you realize it's a team spirit, it's a team unity. And right now, when Manchester City doesn't have a Haaland, everyone's asking the question. We know City will get the goals, but from where? Nobody's asking that about Arsenal. We're getting goals from Xhaka. We're getting goals from Martinelli. We're getting goals from Jesus. We're getting goals from Xhaka. Heck, we're getting goals from Gabriel. So we have the goals nicely spread out. We shouldn't complain. Partey, out of the 303 shots he hits, he's got 2 of those on target and into the top corner. We should not be complaining. We're getting the goals. The midfield is better than ever it's been in the last few years. The defensive structure is something that we can't complain of. And I think it was someone on ESPN who mentioned that, I think it was Gary Neville even who mentioned that the front three is one of the finest front three they have in the Premier League with Saka, Martinelli, and Jesus. The only complaint I think we should have, but maybe that should be addressed in January, is a backup to Jesus. Not that Nketiah is not good enough, but God forbid something goes wrong and the goals dry up in the center. We need a more clinical striker. But Jesus he's nothing to worry about what he's doing right now.
Yeah. Adding on to that, what comment that Kunjan just said, Ray, about what Gary Neville said about our front three, I genuinely, because I've been thinking about, I genuinely think we can say the same for all 3 areas of the pitch. I mean, I wouldn't swap our defence for any other defence at the moment. Midfield 3. I mean, what's better than our midfield 3 at the moment as well? Partey, Ødegaard, and Xhaka. I mean, they're all in form. They're all absolutely at the top of their game. And then, obviously, like Kunjan said, our front 3. I wouldn't swap our team for anything at the moment. Would you? I mean, what's your thoughts? I mean, I think they are right up there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, to be honest. It's been a while since I've sort of liked and rated every single player
exactly,
in the
mad,
team. Do you know what I mean? Like, we used to have, you talked about the defence. We used to have Socrates and Mustafi playing there. Used to put the fear of God in you, didn't it?
Yeah.
And even Xhaka was playing in there, but, you know, we now see it's just a complete wrong position for him. So, yeah, I mean, all over the park, I think Kunjan mentioned it there about how Jesus, all right, he's not scoring at the moment, but the whole team is just linked so perfectly. And I think that's what's getting us through games. Because for so long we had Aubamayang and Lacazette, and they were our 2 goal outlets. And that was it. You know, we didn't have a goal-scoring midfielder, really, since Aaron Ramsey left the club. So, and that was, 2 or 3 seasons ago now, maybe even more.
Yeah.
To now see that we've got goals all over the pitch is so refreshing to see. And I think I really do like Jesus. I think there's a little bit of he's out of form in terms of scoring goals, but everything else he's doing is elite. And I think as well, looking at his Man City career, and I know it's a little bit harsh because he was sort of in and out, but I think he scores a lot of his goals in patches, a little bit like Wayne Rooney used to do. You know, he might not score for however many games, but then he might score 3 or 4 games on the bounce.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you know, as you mentioned, every single part of our squad at the moment, or our first 11, should I say, is pretty solid. And that's going from Ramsdale, because again, when have we had such confidence in a goalkeeper? because I
Absolutely.
can't really remember. I remember attributes that every goalkeeper we've had has been good, but all round and for the team that he's playing in, I can't think of a better goalie.
No.
And everything just functions, isn't it?
I really likened his signing to the David Seaman signing back in the day, because no one wanted him. We had John Lukic at the time. We just won the league. People were saying, "What are you spending money on him for?" I mean, he had, not a massively great career before us. Been at Birmingham City, got chucked out of the Leeds Academy, was at QPR, and very similar sort of background to Ramsdale. And when I sort of mentioned about that when we signed him, because I was for it right from the start, unlike some other people, I'm pleased to say, I was really happy with the signing. And and Unikunjanano is indicating that, but it really has turned out that way. It's mad that the cross comparisons between the side that George Graham built when he sort of first arrived to when Arteta's arrived and what they've had to do. It's just there's so many mirrors really to what's going on. And it was the third season that George Graham's in charge that we've won the league. It's just weird. It's really weird. There's a load of parallels. We've never gone more than 18 years without winning the league. How many years is it now since we last won it? 18.
Yeah.
It's really strange. I mean, by the time the season ends, I have to admit, it's going to be 19.
Yeah.
But when you look in the record books, the first number you will see is 2022, which makes you think, 18 years.
Yeah.
So there's some weird things happening. But I have to ask you, Kunjad, as well, because I've lost count of the amount of people I've heard on podcasts or read. They're saying, are Arsenal in a title race? I mean, is it too early to say? I mean, it's just really blowing my mind because the last time I looked, obviously, we are top of the league. So how can we not be in a title race at this time? Because the chances are, touch wood, we will be top of the league come Christmas. And I would just have to say, whenever I hear that sort of comment, if someone said it to me, I say, well, are we out of the title race? Clearly not. We're top of the league. I just think that we should get behind a team and just enjoy it. We are in the title race as far as I'm concerned. How can we not be? I mean, how are you feeling about it? Are you one of these sort of nervous people that don't even want to think about it? Or are you getting excited the way that I am?
I'm excited. I have no level of pessimism about it. I think if we win, we should. It can't be a surprise because we've seen the growth in the season. It's not like one night we woke up and like, oh my God, we won. No, we've seen the growth. We've seen the process come into light. If you want my full confidence with the team, I think we have to wait till January, not because of results, but because of adding depth. When you said earlier on about is there a better midfield that you would want to swap with, I can agree with you in every aspect.
Obviously, the starting three,
right. But if you had a chance between a Haaland and a Jesus, I'm pretty sure you'd take a Haaland. If I said, do you want a Rodri or do you want, let's say, a Partey? I'm pretty sure you may lean towards a Rodri. Okay, good.
No way on earth. Rob Partey's the best midfielder in the league. As far
I think Partey's the best six in the league at the moment.
Sure. And again, if we look at the right back, we have a Ben White or a Consuelo. I get what Ben White brings to the plate, but why I'm saying this is like for like when you look at a Man City who are the favorites, as everyone are saying, they have the depth. I think that's where we are slightly short. I just mentioned to you earlier on that right now Nketiah has got 0 Premier League goals, is not looking like the perfect competition to Jesus. He's good at what he does. Is he the perfect competition to Jesus? I wouldn't say so. Fabio Vieira, I have high hopes for the boy. I really hope he gets his gears clocking very soon. He missed a preseason, and you can see that in his game here and there. He's not tracking back. Arteta's shouting at him. He's going to learn the rope slowly but surely. But if you were to switch him for an Odegaard, you're not going to have the same level of confidence that you have with an Odegaard. Lakonga, I know people have got their doubts on him. You put him against, let's say, a Partey or a Xhaka. I'm just looking at the depth.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and I can't disagree with that. But what other teams are not in the same position? I even include Man City, because you look at Man City's starting midfield, fantastic. It's best in the world probably. Apart from like I said, Partey's better than Rodri.
Sure.
But you look at Kevin De Bruyne, you look at Bernardo Silva. I mean, great. But you take the two of their key cogs out, like you sort of saying about us. If we lose Partey, if we lose Xhaka, I think they're in the same position. I mean, who have they got to come in over and above Rodri now? That's any better? That's specifically better? Who have they got to come in if they lose the front?
He's injured right now. He's injured right now, but they bought Phillips for that same reason. They bought Phillips to play in that position as well. He's injured, unfortunately.
I even completely forgot that
we forgot exactly. Everyone's forgotten about it.
But any team would be the same. We've got the very, very, very strong starting 11. But I mean, look at Liverpool, obviously having a shit season by their standards, even though they beat that lot down the road, thankfully, at the weekend. But you look at their midfield.
No big achievement there. Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. They're only a small team. But you look at their midfield options. It's considering the fact that they played every single game, as we keep hearing, last season, they possibly could have done. Incredible performance. Amazing team still. But you look at their midfield and you can compare the sort of the depth that they've got there. There's some real dodgy players there. Obviously, you've got players that we completely bossed against Chelsea. They've got a good amount of depth, but you compare our midfield options. Even I'm talking about here, El Nini and Lakonga. I would still put them against a lot of the options that someone like even the Spurs have got, for example. And I think the El Nini coming back is a brilliant, brilliant thing for us, because we could have done with him for all of these group games in the Europa League, because it would have meant that Sambi wouldn't have been left exposed right at the back on his own, playing that number 6 role. He could have done that more advanced role and stood in.
He could have done the Xhaka, couldn't he? Yeah,
exactly, and giving Xhaka that rest in all of those games, and we can start, hopefully, again, touch wood, start seeing the best out of Sambi now that El Nini's back. Hopefully, the both of them will play. Obviously, tomorrow, we'll see, but. I think that's going to give Lakonga a bit more of a lease of life now that El Nini's back. Bit of an underrated player and he's never going to set the world alight. You can't class him as like a world-class midfielder or anything, but he's a standard 6.5, 7 player every single week. He may well sometimes be a bit too, even though I think he's passing forward a lot more than he ever has. He may be a bit safer on occasions, but he will always do a good option. He would never lose the ball, for example. Very, very rarely anyway. There would be bound to be some examples. But he's a really steady, tidy player. We really could have done with him this season. And him getting injured was a big, big blow. But having him back is great. But then we're forgetting about Smith Rowe as well. I've said this before, so please, sorry, really, really sorry for repeating myself. But I think he really could be a secret weapon come the new year, because a fit and firing Smith Rowe. We all saw what he did last season, scoring 11 goals off the bench mainly. He could be a real big player for us. Can you imagine coming into the team like this? How excited he's going to be, and how desperate he is going to be to prove himself all over again and show us what we've been missing. And he's an Arsenal lad. He's an Arsenal supporter. He's going to really, really want to try, like all the players that come through the academy, and desperately try and push us towards the title, because it will mean the absolute world to him, same as it does to us. So he's going to be a massive thing. But I totally agree about having to strengthen in January. I'll be very disappointed in some ways if we don't bring in at least 2 players, in my opinion. Well, what's your thoughts, Ray?
Yeah,
there's a lot there to digest.
There's a lot there to unpack, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, you asked earlier about the midfield, and I sort of answered that question as a collective.
Yeah.
If you're talking about individual pieces, then yes, of course, you take, your De Bruyne's, your Haalands, Dare I say it, Kane and Son possibly,
No.
your Van Dijks. Yeah, I know. I'll brush over it, but you get what I mean.
Van Dijk been absolutely awful this season. Sorry,
He has
Sorry.
this season. Yeah, he has
dreadful,
this season.
mate.
But again, as a collective, I still stand by it. I'm happy with what we've got.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit nervous in terms of saying title challenge. Yes, we're top. Yes, we've been fantastic. We've only lost and drawn one game, and the rest we've all won. It's just we don't have that collection of games where we can look back on and say, yes, we've done it here. We've gone to, I don't know, the Etihad, or we've gone to White Hart Lane or Anfield, all these notorious, tricky grounds for us, and we're still learning. And the thing is with Man City is that there is, records for the last 10 seasons of Man City going to these places and winning. And until we do that, I can't be completely convinced that we are. I still think our target is top 4, and I think we are looking, really, really good for it. But yeah, like you said, Andrew, just see where the season what happens in the season, and just enjoy it. Yeah. Because I didn't expect to be in this position, and it's refreshing.
Amazing, yeah.
It was refreshing to see. If I put a positive spin on the Man City result when they won in the last minute, and I'm used to watching that sort of game for Man City and it not really meaning anything because it's Man City, unless they play a direct rival of us, it has no bearing. But all of a sudden, Man City gaining 2 points actually meant that we had to win to stay top, and it's a feeling I'm not used to.
Yeah.
So long may that continue. And like I say, let's see what happens. We do need to strengthen. I do agree with you there. But the players we've got coming back will really strengthen us, I feel. And like I say, I think we just need to sort of just see what really happens going forward.
Yeah. It's just got. I mean, we can't compare ourselves to when Leicester won the title, because at the end of the day, I'm not being funny, we are the Arsenal. I mean, we've got rich history, one of the biggest clubs in the world. So we should be doing, what we're doing each season, this season.
But
I would compare it to Liverpool.
I was just about to say, Andrew, Liverpool went 30 years without winning a Premier League title, or a league title, should I say. I know they won Champions Leagues and they won cups in the meantime. But the bread and butter, their league, they never won.
Yeah, exactly.
Manchester United, before Alex Ferguson, went 25 years without winning.
Yeah.
The Premier League. You look at Man City before they won it in 2012. I think it was. I think it's back in the 60s.
Yeah.
Chelsea won it in the 50s and then won it, I believe, in 2006 or something like that.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is there's a prolonged time where these now big clubs, they don't win their domestic league, and what we need to do is we just need to stay on the trajectory. Do everything we can, still make smart, positive decisions, make the right moves, and I feel like we'll soon buck that trend.
Yeah, it's really different now, though, isn't it? In the last 20 years since Chelsea got taken over by Abramovich and then City and so on, I know it's like you look back, because obviously football existed before the Premier League, etc., but it's different now because Man City are just this juggernaut, just this machine.
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse because of Newcastle now. It's not the same as it was back then, where you could just build a team and organically grow and eventually win the league, like we did under George Graham, like I mentioned, like we did under Arsene Wenger, etc. Because it's not a level playing field anymore. But what we can look at is Liverpool, who obviously are on the way now. I believe we've taken over their Liverpool mantle as being the main challenger over the next 3, 4, 5 years to Man City and Newcastle now. But Liverpool did it. I mean, you look at all the amount of points that they've got. It's just ridiculous. They would have won the league every single season over the last 4 years, back in the day when the days we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it don't work that way anymore. You've got to get close to 100 points. But, they lost the league with 95 points, for crying out loud. It's just ridiculous. But they did it once. And we've just got to be hoping that we are that one team that can just break that juggernaut just every now and then from now on. It's just it's
Yeah.
horrible to think that way.
Yeah.
But I'm just being realistic, you know.
No, I hear it, and I think, you know, I know this is obviously an Arsenal podcast, but I think that's why Klopp is so rattled, because now he knows he's got to do a complete rebuild of that team, and if he's still there, you know, he's as you said, potentially 3 or 4 seasons away from even competing again. Coming back to us, you know, I think we are on the right tracks, but there's still a lot of work to do. You know, the owners, I'm not saying just spend money, but we need to get, you know, key contracts for some of our younger players sorted. You know, the likes of Xhaka, Saliba, and Martinelli, I believe. You know, and we need to continue to strive to be the best. We can't just rest on our laurels, and that comes from the top. And it's always got to be that pressure. You know, that pressure's always got to be there. Because although I want to be in the Champions League again, it's not the be all and end all. You know, I want to be competitive in the Champions League.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, the reason I sort of mentioned about the Liverpool thing, they did it organically, sort of. I know they spent loads of money, they got loads of money coming in, but they did it without, you know, the country's backing, without, you know, all the oil money, etc.
Sure.
So we've got that opportunity.
I don't know whether it's luck or preparation or sort of a mixture of both, but they had a scenario where they could sell a player for 140 odd million quid.
Well,
and buy 2 players. And buy 2 players to come in and transform their team. You know, I think previously they sold Luis Suarez for 70 odd million, which back then was a colossal amount of money, and that was the groundwork for that team.
Hey, it's not 40 million plus 1, all right? So
it's not 40 million plus 1.
Yeah. They did it by selling Rel. They got where they wanted to go.
Yeah, a bit like us. They brought in
exactly
Mane and Salah, who at the time weren't world class players, or the players they are now, and mix that in with a coach like Jurgen Klopp. You know, like I say, you need all of these things to mix together to get them competitive for 4 years. Yeah. And like I say, I can see everything from our point of view. I can see we got the manager. I can see we got the young players. I can see we got the coach. We've got the fans. You know, we've got the stadium. We've got the global reach. We've got everything in place, but it just needs that push from above, and the likes of Arteta and Edu as well. So keep making the right decisions so we can stay competitive.
And 2 things that you didn't mention there, but we have, is the belief and the mentality as well, running right through the club. And I'm talking about the fans as well, but everyone inside the club. Mm-hmm. Everyone believes that in this team, in the players, and in the manager, and that goes a hell of a long way. Because before, when we were when we were taking a 1-0 lead, and remember, we weren't that long ago. We just sat back again. Remember the Palace game, for example, and countless others. But now we just know. I mean, the last 10 minutes. Where did the bombardment from Chelsea go? I mean, nothing happened. We didn't.
It was there briefly, but it was nothing to really be worried about, was it?
No, we just. I mean, the last 10 minutes. You know, everyone had a fag on and their slippers on. You know, it's just ridiculous. No one was panicking. I wasn't worried at all about losing that game. But you know, even when we have had setbacks, like you mentioned earlier, I believe, Ray. You know, when we lost against Man United, lost against PSV, we just come straight back again. Bang! You know, there's no sulking. Our heads don't drop. Yeah. It's wonderful. That's the amazing thing, which is giving me. I mean, also, sorry, I come to you, Kunjam. Like what I loved to see against Chelsea as well was, and it's happened a few times this season, where we shithouse as well. We stand up for ourselves. We don't get bullied absolutely at all anymore. Granit Xhaka was unbelievable at the end of the game, where he wasted about 90 seconds, 2 minutes.
Yeah, so underrated that. And previous seasons he would have been
totally in control. Yeah, but he was totally in control, wasn't he, Ray? I mean,
yeah, of course.
He knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't get the red mist like he used to do. And it was. I was laughing. I absolutely laughing.
Did you watch the moment with him and Jorginho where Jorginho was like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm cheering on the fans. Like, calm down." Like, he was actually winding Jorginho up, because you could see Jorginho was like, maybe he assumed Xhaka was heckling him, and he's like, "Hey, no, I'm just like, why? Like, let me cheering on the fans."
Exactly.
But yeah, go on.
we don't lose our cool. We don't lose our temperament. We're just brilliant. I mean, that's the whole thing that's giving me so much belief. You can just see it on the pitch. You can see the players believe right the way through the whole squad. And the way that we celebrate everyone that's not even playing, doesn't get on the pitch, that's on the bench, they all the same. They've all got the same mentality.
Yeah, all the subs are in there, aren't they, when we're scoring?
Yeah.
They're all celebrating. It's good to see.
It really, really, really is. So I don't even know what I'm asking you, Kunjan, to be honest with you. I mean, what do you want to sort of follow on from what we've been saying?
No, I wanted to basically even highlight a couple of things about what Ray said. Ray mentioned some really important points, but I want to segue into what you're saying, which is that, first of all, I love the fact that you mentioned about the subs, because it's such a lovely group. It's a small but well-knit group. Because again, when we started the season, I remember we've discussed this even on the channel, that I felt that the squad is a little too light. But again, at that point, we're not discussing about challenging. We're not discussing about running for the title. Very interesting thing about Liverpool when Ray was mentioning, they've done phenomenal. Klopp is amazing, and I personally am a fan of the man. But if we look back in all these years, they've done 4 trophies, which is the League Cup, the FA Cup, 1 Champions League, 1 Premier League. One of each. They've not got like back-to-back Premier Leagues, back-to-back Champions League. The one consistent thing they've done is they've showed up to the Champions League in the top 4, and they've given a run to Pep Guardiola, I think bar 2 seasons. The first full season Klopp, and the one, I think this was last year. That's the only one where they haven't given a run. But we highlight Liverpool because Klopp is Klopp. We highlight Liverpool because they have a free-flowing style of football. Now they're starting to get a little bit exposed when we start talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold, when we talk about the lack of Mane in the front 3, how Nunez may not turn out to be the finished product, and yet they had to get him as a replacement as quickly as possible. The midfield with the aging legs, and unfortunately no lack of signings. Like, you start seeing the cracks in Liverpool. The good thing with Arsenal now is that every season Arteta keeps building on what he already has. There are already rumors of getting Danilo from Brazil. There are rumors of maybe a potential striker, maybe even a winger. The Ukrainian fellow, what's his name? With M.
Mudryk.
Mudryk.
Yeah.
There are rumors of that. Because again, when we start looking at what we have, like Reece Nelson was phenomenal against Nottingham Forest. Yet, like, I heard Andrew saying this, that he's a big fan, which I agree. He's great. But can we say that is what we need? That sends excitement down the fans, that when we have a Reece Nelson, when Saka's not injured. I think we all can collectively say that if Saka is injured, God forbid, but if he's injured, and Reece Nelson had to take that part, we wouldn't be as excited as having a Saka. I think this is what I mentioned about squad depth earlier on, that when we have a Zinchenko, I love what Ray said earlier on about what he did, because even in the Chelsea game, if you watch, he very organically drifts in and stays next to Partey, which allows Xhaka to move up, which all of a sudden gives you a 2-3, maybe another 3 in front with Odegaard and Xhaka, and maybe Saka drops in a little deep, and you just have this very eccentric formation which works, which gives you a certain strength in spine, which also gives you that fluidity. And Ben White also sitting in just with Saliba and Gabriel, which is again his favorite position, which is centre back. But yet what I'm saying is that the tactical structure all of a sudden looks very evolved. I love KT. I'm a huge fan. But I'm agreeing with Ray. He doesn't bring that in. And the reason he doesn't bring that in is because Zinchenko is also a midfielder. This is what I'm getting at, that we have different players who play different type of football, and that is very adaptive to the tactics. And when you look at Liverpool, they have a style. And in that style, they need certain pieces of similar molds. And if they don't fit in, like Nunez was not what they wanted. They've got a, forgive me for comparing him to this, but they've got a very Andy Carroll like striker, um, and not a Bobby Firmino type of a striker. And that is not the style that Klopp has been adopting for the last few years. This is again where the tweaks have to come in, the time has to come in, the adjustment has to come in. But what Arteta's got going on right now is very intelligent. It's happening in front of us, but we're just not realizing it. A couple of additions here and there, and they know what they're doing. Like, we can sit here and criticize them that they're not doing this, they're not doing that. When we did not get a striker last January, I think everyone was on their head that why we didn't get one. But now when we see we've got Jesus, it was worth the wait. Yes, we lost out in top four, but it was worth the wait. And this whole thing that, and we've always discussed this on your show, Andrew, of getting the fans involved, of getting the camaraderie between the team involved, getting rid of the bad eggs, and just keeping it, crisp. And I mean, when Aubamayang did that video where he was taking a jab at Arsenal, I mean, you just realize that if he was Arsenal at heart, would he have done that? I don't see Fabregas. Fabregas is so Arsenal at heart. I don't see a Fabregas making that video despite him moving to Chelsea. And this is what you realize, that this is what Arteta is trying to set out. He's trying to get the right personnel to endorse the club. And that's why the fans are getting behind him. That's why the fans are uniting. And again, I can't say this enough. Whether or not we win the title or not, it's a great time to be an Arsenal fan again. It feels right. It feels organic. It feels exciting. And winning the league would just be the cherry on the cake.
Yeah, just a tad. I mean, talking about Reece Nelson, I think I'm not saying he's the answer, full stop, but I think if he gets a chance now, he's the perfect player to play almost, because every single player plays, an extra few percent when they're looking for a contract. They all do. I mean, look what happened to Aubameyang. Look what happened to Ozil back in the day. Look what happened to Eddie last. Look what happened to Eddie last year.
Yeah.
Walcott. Yeah. Eddie, got himself a new contract by the way he played. So did El Neni. They came in and played excellent. There might be a bit of a drop off after they've signed it, but I'll tell you what. Until they've got this new contract, they will give everything, absolutely everything. Hopefully he gets another chance tomorrow and really shines again, because I do believe an awful lot in him, and I'd love nothing more than him to do an Eddie, if you like, and score a few goals between now and the end of the season and get a new contract. But even if he doesn't, I still want him to do really, really well so we can get a better standard of club moving forward, because I really like the kid. And you've heard, I mean, both heard, I'm sure, what Arteta's had to say about him recently and in the past, and the way that he's changed, he's matured, you know exactly what he's doing now. So I think the dog just fell off the chair. So, I know, big bang. But yeah, hopefully if he does get a chance again tomorrow, just as another starter, he'll do what he did against Nottingham Forest or even more. But I come to you, Ray. I mean, obviously talking about January again now, really more than anything. We can touch on the game tomorrow if you want a bit later on. But we all know I want the under-21s to play basically, with just maybe a couple of fringe players thrown in. But yeah, coming to January, I've got a real strong feeling that we will go back in and get Tielemans finally in January, because he's got 6 months left now.
Yeah,
he's back on form. He's going to be a relatively cheap buy, but he could just drop straight into this team. I think he's intelligent enough. I think he's good enough, technically good enough. And he's obviously got bags and bags of Premier League experience now as well. So I think that's one play that we will get. Just got a little hunch. What are your thoughts about it? We all know, I think we're all generally on the same boat, really, aren't we? Definitely another forward, maybe, and a midfielder. I mean, what's your sort of priorities?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar to you guys. I think we need a striker to compete with Jesus and Eddie and really sort of back him up. It'd be nice to get more of a sort of physical target man ironically, like a Darwin Núñez, but obviously not at that level. But do you know what I mean? Someone to give us a different outlet, different option. Somebody like an Ivan Toney, if he was fit. I'm not saying this player, but like a Raul Jimenez, that sort of player. I like Mudryk. I think that looks like a really exciting signing if that was to happen. And I would say 6 because Thomas Partey, I said earlier, I believe at this moment in time he's the best 6 in the Premier League. But unfortunately, he's made of glass, and we've really got to be careful when we use him and how we manage him. If Mohamed El Neni is fully fit and can back him up, then fantastic. Let's get maybe a young understudy. I think we're looking at Danilo, I think his name was, from Palmeiras.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I like Tielemans. I think that would be a good signing, but I don't know if that's necessarily a priority. I think if we could get a 6, I believe Tielemans could wait till the summer and we could get him for free.
See, the thing is, I think he can play 6, mate. Honestly, I really do. I watched the game at the weekend. He was playing 6.
Right.
It was great. He's a real good, he played a fantastic game at the base of the midfield, and I honestly think he's good enough to do both.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad or unintelligent player. Like I said, I'd really like him. I just think if we could get a specialist in that position, I think we could probably just cope without him. But if we were to get him in the January window, then that'd be fantastic. I also see Wilfried Zaha could be available as well. I think his contract's up at the end of the season. However, with the criteria player we've recruited in the last couple of seasons, I don't personally see that one happening. But I would like that. I think he would be a good option to back up and start in certain games.
Yeah, I just think the ship sailed on him.
I think it has.
Don't get me wrong. If he would sign, say, an 18-month contract or something like that, which would never happen in a million years, then I would have him. But he's just getting to that stage now, isn't the age where I'd go for his 2 teammates, Eze or
again, that's a brilliant shout. Yeah,
what's the other
brilliant shout? Elise,
thank you very much. Yeah, Elise and Eze. I think I'll go for either one of those over him. But we've got to figure in Charlie Patino next season. He's ripping it up. They absolutely love him over there, and you've all seen the videos and the chants and all that. He's playing some fantastic football, and the same things happen to a number of our players who've gone on loan in the past and they come back and ripped it up. You look at Smith Rowe, who went to Huddersfield, and look what happened to him when he got his chance in the first team. I'm not saying he's going to be like a starting player in the first 11 from next season, but I do genuinely think that he's going to be, in the first team squad, and maybe be first back up to Xhaka next year. So when I'm talking about things like Tielemans, you've got to think of that, because Charlie Patino is at the moment, as it stands, is such a huge prospect, and he's done well enough. He's done everything that's asked of him to be considered next season as an option there. So we'll have to see how that sort of grows really over the season, and hopefully, touch wood, he'll stay fit. He'll keep this form up. We'll have a better idea in the summer. But it's a good one to think about, really, because if you buy someone like a Tielemans, for example, he's going to want to play obviously every week. Yeah. So and you just cannot discount a great young player that's come through the academy like him that keep producing nowadays, and just say, well, we have to go on another loan next year or something, because one day we are going to lose one of these huge talents.
Yeah, I hear. Sorry to interrupt you, Andrew. But I hear what you're saying, but that's what a big club is all about. Unfortunately, how many players Real Madrid and even Barcelona and Bayern Munich, how many players slip through their academy and end up, and that's being a big club. And unfortunately, if we're going to get there, that will happen. We will lose players, but at least if we do lose them, then we'll lose them for big money, or we could be smart and get sell-on fees or buyback clauses. This is what I want to see from the club.
Yeah,
not just resting on our laurels. And again, if going back to the Reece Nelson chat, I think if he was to get a new contract, I'd be absolutely delighted. I think he's brilliant. But if not, we could do similar what Liverpool done with a Jordan Ibe or Dom Solanke, sign him up and then maybe sell him on.
Yeah, that's the big thing. We'd have to give him a new contract, wouldn't we, in order to do that, because it runs out next summer. That'd be a massive, massive shame if we just left it, let him relieve for free. Well, we'll have to see. Will he sign a new contract if he's not getting regular first team football? Well, I don't know. Honestly, don't know. But if I was a young player, I'd rather be a squad player at Arsenal at the moment, with the way the club is improving week on week, and hopefully challenging, than maybe on the bench at Crystal Palace, for example. No disrespect to them or whatever.
And I think as well, mate, that with Arsenal, I think that's probably our USP and what separates us from some of the other big clubs in the world is that we will give these young players a chance. If you're good enough, we will give you a chance. You will play for us.
Yeah.
And you'll play at the highest level, hopefully. Hopefully we get to the Champions League and, you can audition there. This is what clubs like, not as big as us, obviously, but, your Leipzigs, your Ajaxes, your Borussia Dortmunds, these sorts of clubs have been doing it for years. And, I've been looking at them and being sort of envious. Now I can see us really doing it. And the thing is, we're not only potentially, getting the youth through, but we're doing it also in the Premier League, which is the biggest and the best league in the world. Dortmund, RB Leipzig, even Ajax, they can't offer Premier League football. We can, and hopefully we can offer Champions League football to these guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's well said. I mean, Kunjan, your thoughts about the January window? I mean, I think it's going to be a really, really busy one this year more than ever. I've mentioned this before again as well. Keep repeating myself, but with the World Cup, injuries, with the way that the season has been clearly put into two parts, it's basically going to be another pre-season, isn't it? While the World Cup is on, I just think it's going to be a really busy January, probably the busiest one on record, personally. And yeah, we've got to get at least another couple. You've mentioned about the squad depth throughout the show. What are you hoping for? What are you banking on, really, with the January window coming up?
I think you made a very, very crucial point about Patino. So if we're to look at that inclusion into the team, the only outgoings I can see in January are Suarez, Cedric, and maybe Lokonga on loan. Because I do think that there's a player there. I think everyone says that there's a player there. He just needs to get out there, express himself, get the confidence, get the style that he's used to with under another manager, come back to the club and say, I think I'm ready. Let's work around this. Because that's a different team altogether. Having a Charlie Patino, having a Lokonga, maybe an addition of a midfielder or two. And all of a sudden, because again, we don't even know the end of this season if they're going to extend El Neni's contract again, because maybe that's it for El Neni. They've run the course and they'll say, thank you for being a great servant to the club and good luck to your future ventures. Because again, when you look at Xhaka, I think he's just about to turn 30 or he just turned 30. Partey is about to turn 30. Like, this is now, you can start seeing the rollover plan that is coming into play with the team. So in January, it's a very controversial one, what I'm going to say next, but if we can try and make a cheeky bid for maybe a Vlahovic again, I don't see why not. Because again, things at Juventus aren't looking the best. They're out of Europe in total, not doing the best in Serie A. Allegri in, Allegri out, we have no idea. And Vlahovic is exactly what Ray said, He's got the height, he's got the presence, he's got the strength. He's the old-fashioned type of striker, but he does have the mobility, he does have the speed, he does have the intelligence of playing from the side and cutting in. So it would be a very, very intelligent addition to the squad, because all of a sudden now Arsenal fans can fight over. I would rather have Jesus lead the line for this game. No, I'd rather have Vlahovic lead the line. Having a Tielemans, I think, Andrew, you said very correctly. He can play a 6, but again, his strength is exactly what Xhaka is doing. Is coming to the box and pinging them into the top corner from outside of the box. He does have that in his that arrow in his quiver. Danilo, I don't know much about him, but a little bit I've read about him. He's a very robust number 6 that is going to get better as the days go by. We forget Trusty, like no one speaks about him, but he's been doing really well. I think it's at Birmingham. It's at Birmingham. He's been doing really well, which is again a very apt cover to Gabriel when he comes back into the fray, because we may lose Pablo Mari to I forget the name of the club, Monza. I think it's Monza.
Yeah.
So we may lose Pablo Mari
taken over by some billionaire.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't mind if they paid us about like 75 million for Pablo Mari. I mean, it's okay. He's worth more, but we'll accept it. Oh wait, that was a joke to anyone out there who wants to, I don't know, label me. I'm just saying that was a joke. That Pablo Mari is not worth 75 million. That was a joke. But yeah, I think the squad depth, that's something that would excite me if we got a class striker. Maybe one for sure, but maybe even two in the midfield. All of a sudden, I think the Arsenal squad starts looking really good, really competitive, and we can then officially start believing that, you know what, we can have a run at the title. And while we're on and adding squad depth, a big thank you on behalf of all Arsenal fans to Liverpool on getting Arthur into the club, because we all were wishing and praying for him. Thank you.
That could have been
Thank you, Liverpool, for doing that for us.
3 minutes of football, is it, or something like that?
And just to if Liverpool's listening, he's amazing. Please keep him on for one more season. He's so good. Please keep him.
It's not out of the question, really, that someone like Vlahovic could come on loan. Isn't it? You hear these deals before. I mean, I know you think, why would they do that? They spent so much money on him to bring him in, and why would they send him out on loan? It's not been unheard of in the past. With players like James Rodriguez, for example, Coutinho, even Lukaku from Chelsea to Inter Milan last season. They're all massive players.
These clubs are struggling, Andrew, aren't they?
Exactly. They're really struggling.
So we have to use our power as being a Premier League club with the finance and actually use that to our advantage. Go to a Juventus and see what they say.
Yeah. I mean, it may sound crazy, but it could happen. I certainly wouldn't be against that. I rated him before when we were looking at him. I thought he was a fantastic player.
Don't forget about Florian Barragan as well, though. He's out on loan at Reims and he's killing it in the French league. So again, another player that's
exactly the same
on our books.
Exactly the same is what I was talking about with Charlie Patino. Exactly the same situation there. But the same goes to what you said about being a big club, and these things happen from time to time where we end up losing these players. None of us ever want to lose that type of player, a Patino especially, or a Balogun, because they come through the academy and they mean that much more to us.
Of course, yeah.
And I'd love them to be both part of the squad going forward, because that squad has been. Let's not forget, we've saved millions of pounds a week in wages over the last 2 or 3 years, especially with the wages that we've cut from the club. Yes, we've given players new contracts and improved terms and so on, and we've brought in Jesus, who's not going to be on, £5 a week, is he? So I know that we've added to it, but we're still in a far better position than we were 2 or 3 seasons ago, wage-wise. And we've trimmed the squad down to the bare bones, especially. So I think we've got room to add a bigger squad next summer, and keep players like Patino and Balogun. But the problem is, as who was it that said it? Stefan Harrington, thanks for watching, mate. He made a quote saying, well, players want to be playing. And this is the thing. We all think that where would anyone else want to be at the moment? We're probably one of the most attractive clubs, especially for young players, to join in Europe at the moment. And that's not being looking at it things with our rose-tinted spectacles on, is it? That is genuinely a fact that the excitement around Arsenal Football Club at the moment, the way that we're playing, and the squad that we've got, the potential that we've got within that squad and within the team as a whole is fantastic. So any player would want to join us at the moment, but we've got to be wary about the way that we do expand the squad in the future. We've got to stick to our principles because it's working. It's really, really working. We can all see it with our eyes. We've got to bring the right characters into the club, right age profiles, and the right technical ability, because that's the way that we're playing football at the moment is just phenomenal. And we've just got to be really careful. We cannot be going back to the stage where we are bringing in players that we think can take us over the line. They've got that right experience. They've got the experience.
We need to make the right decisions, because one thing 100%. As well is that with the World Cup, what happens after every World Cup is that players have good tournaments, their prices are overinflated, and they go to teams, and it doesn't always work out.
James Rodriguez,
and that's exactly what's going to happen this January. So it's even more important that we identify who we want, and it's a long process. I think they said Jesus was about 6 months until we actually signed him.
Yeah.
So we can't just get distracted. We need to have our targets, how they're going to fit in with the group, how they're going to fit in with Mikel's system and his tactics. And like I say, it's just got to be smart. Because that's what we've been doing.
We don't want anyone to have a massive ego to come into that dressing room either.
No, of course not.
We need to have someone that's going to be. I know it's that hard, really, really hard. That's the hardest part of buying players, obviously, to see who's going to properly fit in to the culture of the club and the mentality and become mates with all the players. Basically, that's what you want. But that's a really, really difficult thing to have. But that's critical for me, that we don't have anyone come in and upset the apple cart, really, because you can see the bond that we spoke about earlier in the show with all the the substitutes flooding onto the pitch and everyone else. Everyone really gets on. It's the word that's been used so much is brotherhood, within the club, isn't it? And
do you think that's why we went and got players like Jesus and Zinchenko from Man City? Because Arteta's worked with them, he knows their character, and obviously he's going to have a fantastic character reference from Pep Guardiola. So
100%, mate. Yeah, he knows exactly the type of people that he was buying personally, doesn't he? So,
but also even the winning mentality, because these guys, funny enough, yes, they're the winners with Man City, but whenever you look at the squad, you never say Jesus played a huge part in Man City winning the league, or Zinchenko played. This is also a point to prove that we weren't just backbenchers at Man City, coming onto a club like Arsenal, who have history, who have the fan base, who don't have empty seats in the stadium. There's a certain hunger with both these guys, and I think Ray, you're spot on, because when you do look at it, Arteta's worked with them. He was observing each and every one of them. He was working hand in hand with them, and these are the traits that when he was bringing these characters into the team, he knew what would happen, because I'm sure with what squad he had, they were here. Having Zinchenko and Gabriel just pushes them a little more. Come on, we're hungrier than you. Ensure that we all are on the same page, and you see that. That's something that the metamorphosis is not overnight. It's structured to the point they know exactly what they're doing behind the scenes. Right?
Yeah.
So I think getting anyone on board into the squad, it's imperative that the character is right, and I'm 100% with you on that. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Next thing before we sort of start thinking about finishing up is the World Cup, which I've got no interest in it whatsoever. However, I'm interested in all the Arsenal players that are going, and I want them to come back healthy. We found out today that Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus have been called up by Brazil, which is fantastic. I'm really pleased for them, because it means so much to them. It means playing for Brazil is unlike playing for any other country in the world. I've heard a lot of people say this. It means the world to them. So, and he's been working towards this, Gabriel Martinelli, since he was 7 years old. I think the story was saying his dad. You aim for the 2022 World Cup, you can be there, and he's made it, and it's a fairy tale for him. So I'm over the moon for him. Hopefully, you'll get a few minutes. I'm not sure. They've got wealth of people there, in that position.
They are stacked, aren't they, Brazil?
Absolutely.
To be fair.
But just making the squad is going to mean the world to him. So I'm very, very happy for him as far as that's concerned. The one that concerns me is, and it's not Ben White, because Gareth Southgate's got, get your mug up. Gareth Southgate is one of those. I don't even think he's going to go, but we'll wait and see. But no, none of the England guys. One concerns me is William Saliba, because I think he's going to play every game, and he could be in the team of the tournament when it comes to an end, when they all get voted in. He could be that good. But he could be a bloody world champion when he comes back. And we've got to get this guy signed up. He's going to become even bigger, during that tournament. Everyone is going to want William Saliba. I think he's that good. And those that have been living under a rock and haven't really been following him up until then will all know about him.
Yeah.
And he could literally just strut back into the club as a world champion. And we've then got to negotiate this new deal for him. Now, I honestly think he's that good. We've got to give him whatever he wants. But I've heard someone else on the podcast, I can't think who it was, but said that he's got Real Madrid written all over him, that type of player. He's at his age and that sort of standard. Every single big club in the world is going to want him, and he's going to have his head turned. And I'm just worrying about that, basically, about getting this guy signed up to a long-term contract. Now, we have to just hope and pray that what I just said about Arsenal being one of the most attractive clubs to join at the moment, and the future looks incredibly bright. We've got to just hope that he is feeling this. He's feeling the love from all the fans. He loves his chant, loves his teammates, and he thinks that we are going to be onto great things. And that is just what we've got to put all our hopes and bets on at the moment, isn't it, really? The fact that he is going to sign this new contract. But he's going to have us over a barrel. Regardless of whether they win it or not, they're going to go far. I'll be very surprised if they don't go really deep into the tournament. So, how are you feeling about this, you guys? I mean, either one of you can answer. I'm concerned about it, to be honest, because I absolutely love him already.
Yeah, I mean, it's a concern. But again, this is where, the people at the top, Edu, Arteta, whoever are paid the big bucks, this is where, this is why we paid them this money. I think for William Saliba, he's what, only 21 or 22, something like that? 21. So, in theory, he could play for Arsenal for the next 6 or 7 seasons and then move on to Real Madrid. And, he's still wouldn't even be in his prime then, which would be scary. But I believe this is a fantastic club for him. We just need to be competing at the top level. And we need to be in the Champions League next season in order to hang on to him.
Yeah.
Like I say, if he does go, it'd be an awful shame. But, we need to be getting huge money. But, I believe that this is the right platform for him at this moment in time to develop. I think if he goes to Real Madrid, I think he probably could start for them. But will he? Because the track record of young players going to Real Madrid, I mean, you can ask Martin Ødegaard, isn't particularly great. So when he's a bit more established, of course, it would be painful. And yes, I imagine he might be destined for that sort of club. But let's get him, let's show him what we can do. The fans absolutely love him. He plays every week, which is really important. He's obviously got the trust of the manager, and I think he was an Arsenal fan growing up as well.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, pictures of him, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, like I say, as I think everything is there. I think the only thing that concerns me is where this club is going to go, and the ambition, and that's why we need to be competing at the top level for however many seasons to come. And as long as we can do that and show him that, then I have no problem. I think he'll sign.
You see, that part, funnily enough, doesn't worry me so much about where the future path is going and with the club. And I think we've demonstrated that clearly over the last 2 or 3 years about we really have sorted out this shit that we had going on in the past. and we've got a strong, structured plan about where we want to be in the future. I'm quite calm about that side. The only thing that worries me really is the dirty world of agents nibbling in his ear, like Amari Hutchinson style, saying, "Yeah, come to Chelsea. Then got much better future over here." Yeah, right, mate. I bet he is sitting on that Chelsea bench whenever he, luckily enough, gets on that bench. I saw him on it the other day, funnily enough. And I bet he's thinking, "What the fuck have I done?" I could be over there now with that club. But anyway,
could be playing tomorrow for us if he sticks.
Exactly,
if he stuck with us. But
yeah, exactly. Or he could have had that. I think we'd arranged a loan for him at Reading. Actually, funnily enough, he could be playing week in, week out on loan.
Yeah,
and having the excitement of rejoining this wonderful club at the end of the season, back in the summer, after playing every week. But yeah, he chose that path. I firmly believe it was completely and utterly down to his agent, saying, nibbling into the say, get more money over here, get you an extra $5,000 a week, something along those lines. And it's a foolish thing to have done. But anyway, good luck to him. But agents are the ones that worry me more than anything with William Sleeper. Don't know what they are saying behind their backs and giving them stupid advice just not for the players' benefit, but their own benefit and how much money they can equally get, both him and them, not for the enjoyment of his future career, not being in the right kind of environment for him and his football ability and his growth, personal growth. No, it's all about money. I'm just hoping that that's not the case. I hope he's got his head switched on really close. He does seem like a level-headed guy. It doesn't seem like he's got a massive ego, so just fingers crossed as far as I'm concerned about that moving forward. But yeah, I mean, with regards to the World Cup, Kunjan, we're going to have obviously quite a few players going, but really when you go through the team individually, there's only like maybe 4 players that are going to be regular starters for their countries during the World Cup. I see that being apart from Matt Turner, obviously, but he's obviously on the bench. I think he might play every game. But Saliba, Partey, Xhaka, and possibly Bukayo Saka as well could play a lot more.
Tommy Asu will also.
Yeah, but he's I don't know where he's in the squad, but he's still got a troublesome injury. He may miss the first game. I don't think they're going to go that far in the tournament. They may prove me wrong. We'll see. But he may play a couple of games, yeah. But I think we're quite lucky in that respect, whereas I think a lot of other clubs will have maybe a lot more than that. We're going to have more called up, but I don't think they're going to get that many minutes. I even include Gabriel Jesus and Martinelli in that. I don't think they may come on as substitutes for the last parts of games, but I don't think they're going to be regular starters. So how are you feeling generally about the World Cup coming up and the Arsenal players involved?
I think if this was a different situation for us, like let's say we were in 3rd position or the 4th position and we were doing relatively well, I think we'd be very receptive about our players being called up. But because we are in a genuine title run where there's a possibility of us winning the league, we obviously want everyone back fit. Also, what does tend to help is the bounce of the World Cup, because if you're playing and you're playing well, you tend to come back with that confidence. Like, I don't see Martinelli starting for Brazil. I mean, I love the guy. He's one of my favorite players. But right now, looking at their setup, looking at their style, it's not free-flowing football. It's a samba football, which is very, like it plays from the back, and then you have the midfield and the wingers, and it just becomes very compact. I don't see Martinelli being a starter in the Brazil team, though I would love him to be there. So you do see him getting those bursts of substitute appearances where he uses his pace to stretch the defense. Same thing with someone like Gabriel Jesus. I do see him playing the false 9 a lot to get everyone else like the Neymars, because I think Neymar is going to be the first choice to play that position. And I think the one player I am actually worried about, and Ray said it earlier as well, is our glass man, Thomas Partey, because he's not only going to be starting, I think he's got the duties of even the captaincy. I think. And again, that's something that worries me, because that could like if you remember even the African Cup of Nations when he was there, like the whole time we were like, please don't get injured, please don't get injured, please don't get injured. And the World Cup is way more intense than the African Cup of Nations. So, but I do at the same time want someone like Ramsdale to be starting because that would be it's very well deserved over anyone else. And
I think
also
he'll be third choice, unfortunately.
that's
I think Pope is ahead of him as second choice, according to Gareth Southgate. So I don't think he's going to get any minutes whatsoever. Ridiculously.
True Southgate. No, but I really do wish Ben White does make it into the squad. I mean, because at the end of the day, we have to take the love for the club aside and look at the players individually. And it's representing your country at the World Cup, at the largest stage, at the largest footballing stage, at the largest sporting event in the world, even for that matter. And you want them to do well. And Saliba, I think you said it perfectly well. All eyes are going to be on him when he's playing for France because once upon a time, everyone was talking about Rafael Varane. Now people have forgotten even what club he plays for. With right reason. But yeah, like I think Rafael Varane, beg your pardon, William Saliba is going to be someone that everyone's going to have their eyes out on. Tomiyasu, yeah, despite the injury, I think Japan will be the safe bet. There's not going to be something so dramatic about them, but it's a good team to watch. There's some good individuals. I do feel from the two names that are out there about winners that we have to look out for Brazil and France, and we have representation in both the countries. So let's just hope that everyone who goes there comes back fresh, and let's also hope that whoever stays back, there's so much more work that has been put in during the camp that the minute the Premier League starts, we're good to go. Like everyone is on the same page, everyone's going back to it's just a big pause button, and when December rolls around, the end of December rolls around, it's back to normal.
Yeah, I mentioned on the show yesterday with Ryan that I couldn't believe it. I only found out yesterday that the World Cup final is on the 18th, and we could play our first game back on the 22nd.
Yeah,
the next round of the Carabao Cup. I just could not believe what I was hearing. It's just
crazy, isn't it?
I mean, it's easy to say, oh, we'll just play old youngsters or whatever, but we never do. I mean, we'd always play a few fringe first-team players in those games. So I just think it's madness, honestly.
But also, we said the same thing about October when the results came, when the fixtures came out. We were like, oh my God, October is going to be disastrous. Nothing disastrous about October.
I don't know, but I mean, no one will know what it's going to be like because all the sets of players that are split up, some going to the World Cup, some not, are going to be at different levels of fitness. I just hope that we can get the same kind of, understanding on the pitch when we kick off again. Anyway, but this World Cup, I don't know about you, Ray, but it's not a World Cup to me. I just don't get that same excitement that I would do normally when it's on this season's ended.
Yeah, no, I hear what...
World Cup. It's just nonsense to me. I've just not got any excitement in it whatsoever.
See, I feel exactly the same, but I know as soon as that first game starts, then I'm going to be hooked. So it's it is what it is. I can say it now. I can say it on a podcast that I think it's going to be rubbish, but I know as soon as in particular England's first game starts, I'm going to be full bang into it. But I hear what you're saying, and again, we need our coach and his fitness team to really work on this. It needs to be like a moving treadmill so that when the World Cup finishes, we hit, we go straight back onto it and we hit the ground running rather than just, fall flat on our faces.
Yeah.
So
I think if anyone's going to be all over that, it's going to be Mikel Arteta and his fitness team.
This is it. Yeah, this is exactly
you can only see him having no stone unturned, can't you, with regards to things like that. And he's obviously we've got all these friendlies lined up, and one back at the Emirates, which against the Spanish team, which I believe is Barcelona. I think we're going to have a Barcelona friendly before the World Cup was ended as well. But we'll have to see how things go. You might be right. I mean, when the things kick off, I might start getting into it a little bit more. I really struggle with England because of Gareth Southgate. I just really do. I just think as soon as he comes up against a good manager, he goes missing. I'll have more interest in Brazil probably and France because of Saliba and the Gabbies. And hope, well, if Xhaka plays, I'll obviously have a lot more interest as well. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. Got the game tomorrow, which, you know, I think we should go out and try and win it, but I think we should go out and try and win it with all completely and utterly changed squad. Perhaps reward the under-21s who are playing really well at the moment. They're top of their league. And players like, some of the fringe players that can play, that need some minutes as well, like Marquinhos, Vieira, maybe give them a go. But otherwise, play the under-21 team. That'd be quite nice. Try and win it with them. But I don't want to see any of our first-team players playing in that game ahead of the Wolves game, which is obviously the most important one coming up because we have to win that game. I don't think it's going to be as easy as it would have been 2 weeks ago because they've just appointed Lopetegui, haven't they? Potentially there could be that new manager bounce, which is bloody sod's law for us. But I think we should still have enough to beat them quite comfortably. And we have to do that because it'll be amazing to go into the break with being still top of the league, won't it? Let's keep our fingers crossed for that. But we'll leave it there. We've got done 1 hour 20 minutes, so that's not bad at all. Shame Ryan couldn't have made it. Hope you're okay, mate, if you're listening, watching. But yeah, once again, thank you ever so much, Kunjan. It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you as always for having me over. And if I've said anything or offended anyone, I really apologize. It wasn't meant to be. There was not the intent.
And
See, someone got to wear a Spider-Man mask. Sorry, Aubamayang.
Can you imagine though if he actually scored? It would have been, it would have been insane.
You know what got to me about that was that he was actually planning to celebrate. Like what?
Yeah.
What an actual
mug
Spider-Man. Yeah.
You know what? I was listening to the Arscast in the car earlier, and it was quite funny. I think it was James said on there, Ramsdale has so little to do. He should have had a look round and rummage around for that mask. Just put it on in the second half and just stand there with the Spider-Man mask on. Because he must have been quite bored, bless him. That would have been, that would be absolutely hilarious, wouldn't it? That would have been so funny. Ray, it's been an absolute pleasure as well, mate. Hopefully we'll get you back on again next week as well. Fingers crossed. Should be all good, mate. Thank you again for inviting me on. It's always a pleasure chatting with you guys, especially when we win and all our rivals lose as well. It's
Well, so that's been this whole season. So good job.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't really do that much sharding for it today, which is a big omission from me. So yeah, I apologise to everyone listening. We have to get onto that next week. But yeah, once again, thank you to everyone in this chat. It's been fantastic. Let's read out a few names: Stefan, Taib. Where are we? Some more up here. The Arsenal Misfit. All of you, thank you ever so much for your input. It's been fantastic, and I hope you will all join us again next week. And give us a like before you go, please. It really does help. So once again, thank you for all, and see you all next week. Come on, you Gunners!
Come on, you Gunners!